Hi guys, and welcome to GroupSet Accredited Applicator Training. My name is Shanti. I'm GroupSet's Technical and Training Services Manager, and I'm here to run you through our training presentation, where we'll be looking at different substrates, surface preparation, our versatile primer range, and GroupSet's market-leading bond breaker and detailing system, as well as our flagship product, GroupSet 38FC, our liquid membrane, and also an overview of the principal requirements from AS/NZ 3740. This is all to ensure a successful and lasting waterproofing application.
So let's get started. So GroupSet Industries' mission statement is our commitment to lead, innovate, and create sustainable solutions, keeping our customers at the heart of everything we do. GroupSet has been doing this successfully for over 30 years, and in the early 1980s, the company commenced development alternatives to solvent-based bitumen and resin coatings using water-based and solvent-free technology. GroupSet has never manufactured solvent or hazardous products, pioneering green-friendly technology, and continues as a market leader today. The evolution from this unique technology has led to the development of high-quality waterproofing systems for wet areas, weather-exposed surfaces, subterranean structures, and continuously immersed areas, including potable water systems and protective pavement solutions. Our flagship product, GroupSet 38FC, is an SBR fast cure membrane. It's a next-generation fast-curing fiber-reinforced SBR latex membrane, and it's designed for waterproofing internal and external wet areas, under tiles, toppings, and overlay finishes. It utilizes the latest in fast cure technology. GroupSet 38FC provides rapid recoat and tile over time, making it the ideal choice for domestic and commercial projects with time constraints that require fast turnaround times. Fast cure technology, tile over in 4 hours. Resistant to permanently wet conditions without remulsification, and it's a tough, durable finish. And it can be used in internal wet areas, bathrooms, laundry, and tiled areas, and also balconies, decks, podiums, terrace floors, and tiled roofs. GroupSet 38FC is a brand of praise and compliant to AS/NZ 4858 2004 and AS 4654.1, satisfying the requirements of AS 3740 and AS 4654 for waterproofing to internal and external areas. And its elongation classification is over 480%. So it's a class 3 membrane. So we'll be looking at substrate suitability and the right surface selection and preparation. So some of the topics that we'll be covering over these next slides is traditional concrete masonry, risk of surface dust and top layers of solid surfaces, sheets and linings, wall linings, cement sheet surfaces, and CFC composites versus timber substrates, following manufacturer's guidelines, and minimum surface prep for all surfaces. So first we'll be looking at concrete, and things to be aware of when working on concrete include porosity. So concrete can be either porous or non-porous depending on how it's finished, the MPA of the concrete itself, and the use of additives. An easy way to check this is the water droplet test, in which you pour water in random areas. If the water droplet takes over a minute to absorb into the surface, then the substrate needs to be considered non-porous. Surface stability, soundness. If the top layer is unsound, for example, there's signs of lateness, or it has a very weak top layer, unstable surface will need to be removed by mechanical means. Cracks, hairline cracks and static cracks are usually able to be treated with Elastoproof B50 joint band or fully reinforced with GroupSet RF fabric. Expansion, movement joints, and larger cracks need to be notified to the client to ensure the correct checks are made so that the issue doesn't worsen. So here we have a concrete case study. So this is a very small area. We were lucky enough to have the contractor send through some photos. So after thoroughly high pressure cleaning mud and dirt off the surface, the contractor exposed concrete, which had clear signs of lateness. So that photo there, it shows after it's been washed, and you can see the discoloration of the concrete itself. So that lighter chalky color. And also you can see that there's a rough texture and some exposed aggregate. So this is usually a telltale signs of excessive water, either in the initial mix, overworking of the concrete, bringing water and sand to the surface, or washout, or being in contact with water prior to the concrete curing. So latenance is easily scratched off using a knife or scraper. So once the depth of the weak layer is determined, the contractor was able to remove with handheld equipment. For large areas, commercial grinders, shop blasters, and scabblers are available at your local equipment hire store. When areas are cleaned and prepared thoroughly, it allows for a true assessment of the substrate, ensuring any potential issues are exposed and treated accordingly. For this application, contractor applied Gripset B50 elastoproof band over cracks prior to waterproofing. Now we'll take a closer look at these detailing components in the Gripset range a bit further down. So once the contractor was able to remove that top layer, he then was able to see the true condition that the concrete was in, exposing some cracks. Structural floor sheets, do's and don'ts, CFC fiber cement and timber. So always checking for the correct installation and referring to fixing manual of particular product. These manuals will give precise details on how products should be fixed and installed. With the array of products on the market, this can seem like a daunting at first, but you will quickly start to familiarize yourself with the specific products that your client or clients are selecting to use on their projects. So we do have a long list of different types of fiber cement sheets and a whole gambit of different type of lining products. But it's important to quickly establish what it is that you're coming across most regularly, and then the installation instructions that come with those products, so you can assess and ensure that that's been done correctly before commencing with the waterproofing works. Additionally, you want to check for surface stability. If we're talking about structural floor sheets, then you always want to check for falls if that's the intention is to waterproof that substrate. So have the sheets been installed flat with the intention to screed over, or have the sheets been prepared with the correct fall? Timber, always ensure that it's wet area grade timber has been installed, and always apply ceramic tile underlay like Gripset Express Lay prior to the application of liquid membranes. So some of the structural flooring sheets that we have regularly on the market or we come across are things like traditional CFC sheeting or thick sheet. Then we have lightweight tongue and groove sheet flooring, so things like Hardy Skyon, BGC Nova. We also have CSR Cemental, and there's some other products as well. We also have MgO, magnesium oxide board, things like Magnum board, Ox board, Dragon board, etc. You can see this image, and this is true with most structural sheeting, is the profile change from product to product, and this may lead to some differences in the installation process. So it's good, really is good advice to familiarize yourself with what those details are, to ensure that no steps have been skipped prior to you commencing the waterproofing that could potentially lead to a waterproofing failure down the track. So wall linings. So again, always checking for correct installation. Refer to fixing manual, joints, flushing details, and wall and floor junctions. Check for surface stability, that the boards are sound with no wobbling or vibration. Fixtures are correctly fixed and flushed. Apertures, holes around mixer, spindles, and shower head are able to be sealed with elastoproof collars or other voids unstable. So has a hole been cut too large, and causing sort of a weak point there, and how does that need to be treated? Surface residues, paint stains can impact membrane adhesion. So with wall linings, these are some of the common issues we come across. So apart from not enough fixtures on the sheet themselves or not fixed correctly, some other common issues are sort of the floor, the gap where the boards meet the floor, they're too large. It sort of goes beyond what the actual limitations of the detailing products are, and it's a real common issue. The reality is that wall and ceiling liners are bound to manufacturer's requirements, and they also have a AS Ensign standard that they need to adhere to. So gaps to floor junction should generally only be 6 to 10 mil. And anything beyond that, this is where we need to start communicating with the trades before or the site supervisor, and ensuring that they're getting these details correct, because that can have a very big impact on the finish, the product of the waterproofing works. So water resistant plasterboard, for example, CSR Aquacheck, should only really be base coated to areas to be waterproofed and tiled. And the two main reasons for this is that the top coat or the flushing coat is water soluble, and will break down if in contact with constant moisture. Also, it doesn't, the membranes, primers, and tile adhesives don't have a permanent bond to flushing compounds. You can see that section that was circled there. The contractor stopped as he was reaching the shower, and the shower is being treated with base coat only. Fiber cement sheeting, for example, James Hardy Villa board, again, need to be finding and following the lining board installation manual, and it must be complete prior to the application of waterproofing system. So once you walk into that wet area, the lining work should be complete. That includes any treatment over the nail holes or fixtures, and also all the joints and junctions should be treated. So both these images show incomplete lining board work. And again, familiarizing yourself with common manufactured substrates is important to determine the suitability of the product for use in a wet area, correct installation, required preparation, and then from there we can determine the appropriate primer to then be applied over that surface. So GroupSet have test data and test results on a very large variety of substrates that we come across, and the resources are there. So not only resources that you can contact GroupSet directly for, but also the manufacturers of those structural products and elements all have their own technical specifications, installation guides, and there's also additional resources that you can freely download. You can save these as favorites and access them as you need. So if you find that the clients that you're working for are generally using things like structure floor and cement tool, for example, then it's a good idea to have those manuals on hand and start to familiarize yourself with the details that matter to your waterproofing works. And then we have our general surface preparation detail as per GroupSet product TDS. So surfaces must be prepared thoroughly before commencing application. So the application of the waterproofing is only going to be as good as the prep that was done or the structure that was there prior to starting. All substrates must be structurally sound, smooth, stable, dry, and clean. So dry, we do have primers that will block out residual moisture, even some that will stop any rising damp. So, you know, it really does depend on the primer selection there. But as far as being structurally sound, smooth and clean and stable, they're critical aspects for correct preparation for waterproofing membranes. Rough surfaces and voids are to be evened or filled first. All brick block surfaces to be pointed flush. So we do have a product, GroupSet 11Y, and it's an additive for cement-based products. And if you just look at the TDS, it will give you details on how to prepare the product and then apply it for all general surface defects that are able to be repaired. So building surfaces must be constructed to manufacturer's recommendations and relevant building standards enforced at the time of membrane application. And again, this is why it's important to familiarize yourself with at least the basics of the installation for each of those products. All surfaces are to be free from sharp, protruding objects, loose material, deep bonding coating, curing membranes agents, release agents, wax, residues, foreign particles, latenants, algae and moss, grime, oils, animal fats, or grease. Structurally unsound layers and surface contaminants are to be mechanically removed by abrasive blasting, blast tracking, grinding, or equivalent methods. So once we've identified the substrate we're going over, we've prepared it adequately, then we can start looking at the primers. So surface primers are a key progression after surface preparation to optimize adhesion of waterproofing systems to surfaces. The importance of primers can't be underestimated in the long-term success of waterproofing systems. On porous surface, a primer serves two primary functions. First one is it forms a sealing effect through penetration to ensure clean and dust-free surface, allowing a uniform membrane film formation. The second function is it prevents rapid absorption of water content from the membrane or adhesive to ensure curing phase is unaffected. So it gives the membrane a chance to cure at an even rate, giving you the best result. And the fact is that membrane coverage is more effective when surfaces are primed. So you use liquid membrane more cost effectively, because anything that gets drawn into the substrate, if you're looking at the more expensive component, it will always be the membrane, because that's really where the performance is of the system. And the primer will take up any porosity from that surface, and then you're going to get all the properties from the membrane as intended for it to perform its job. On porous surfaces, a primer serves one primary function, and it's really just to ensure that the membrane or adhesive can effectively bond to the surface, and it does not have the ability to absorb into the surface to enable adhesion. So it really is all about promoting adhesion onto a non-porous surface. So GripSet primer range includes GripSet GP, which is our general primer for absorbent porous surfaces. So it's a general purpose primer. It can also be used for tiling systems, not just our waterproofing systems. Very cost effective due to its large coverage rate, and very user friendly as well. So GripSet OP is our one-part primer for non-porous surfaces. So there is an aggregate in the primer, and what happens is it promotes adhesion to the non-porous surface, and it also creates a key for your membrane to be applied over the top. And it can also be used for things like tiling on top of tiles, where tile adhesives can be applied directly over the cured OP primer. GripSet Express Primer Plus is a one-part fast drying vapor barrier. So we also refer to the GripSet Express Primer or H2O primer as the tiler's friend, because it does block out any residual moisture from screed beds, and it will not affect the surface finish and adhesion of the tile adhesive going over the top. GripSet Express SP Primer is a one-part primer specially designed for the express lay ceramic tile underlay sheets for both porous and non-porous substrates. So it has similar properties to the OP primer, but it can also be used over porous surfaces where a contractor may not want to be switching out primers regularly, and they could use the one primer for most applications. Then we have GripSet E60 Primer, which is our high-performance two-part water-based epoxy primer and vapor barrier, and it's specially designed for damp surfaces and negative hydrostatic pressure. So GripSet E60 Primer is by far our best performing primer, and it does create an additional watertight seal if it's used as part of the system, and it has, infinite applications when it comes to both positive and negative water pressures. And then we have the GripSet 11Y, which is our liquid latex additive. It can be used as an additive in screeds and renders, but also we can create a slurry primer that can be used for immersed areas and specialty areas. So GP primer, so general purpose for porous surfaces and substrates prone to dusting. So renders, screeds, it's been used on the top left there for CFC sheets, water resistant plasterboard, villa board, all those type of substrates. It enhances adhesion to the substrate, consolidates dusty substrates, it has penetrating properties, improves membrane coverage, and it can also be used as a bonding agent. Gripset OP, our one component primer for non-porous surfaces. So metal flashings, PVC, puddle flange preparation, and also on top of non-porous sheeting products like James Hardie Skyon and the like. That's our go-to primer for those applications. And of course, it can also go over glazed surfaces like tiles, existing tiles for remedial works. It's solvent-free, enhances adhesion to metal, PVC, glazed tile, and other non-porous substrates, suitable for horizontal and vertical surfaces, and is fast drying. Gripset Express H2O primer or Primer Plus, so that can be used over screeds, suspended slabs. It's one component, water-based, fast drying, and it blocks out any water vapor that can potentially lead to blistering of membranes, and it also blocks out effervescence that can be formed through the screed bed. And again, it's completely compatible with tile adhesives. So fully compatible with Gripset membranes, tile adhesives, water-based vinyl and flooring adhesives, renders, mortars, and acrylic paints and texture coatings. It reduces the risk of effervescence, fast drying, economical surface coverage of up to 1 litre per 8 square meters, can be used as an exposed protective sealer over concrete, carbonation, and general degradation, suitable for internal and external applications. Gripset SP Primer is a one component primer for non-porous surfaces and also porous. So it can be used over things like board, cement sheet, plasterboard, concrete, over glazed surfaces. It's solvent-free, provides a smooth surface finish, ideal for express lay, ceramic tile underlay, and BRW sheet systems, as it provides a smooth finish. Enhances adhesion to metal, PVC, glazed tile, and other non-porous substrates, and it can be used over porous surfaces as well, suitable for horizontal and vertical surfaces, fast drying, economical surface coverage of 1 litre to 12 square meters. Gripset E60 for damp surfaces and green substrates and surfaces subject to rising damp. So it's a water-based epoxy. It's a 2-part product, so it's mixed at a ratio of 1:1. It increases performance of Gripset systems overall. So if you're putting the Gripset E60 as part of the mix, it will improve the performance of the system overall. It's super versatile. It can be sand seeded or add sand as a filler. It's a moisture barrier to negative sides of underground wall structures. It prevents moisture ingress. It seals the substrate. Protective primer over concrete and mineral surfaces, stopping residual dampness. Enables application of finished coatings without blistering or delamination. Perfect for sheet membranes. Protection against rising damp, enabling room conversions. Prevents effervescence on walls and floor surfaces to enable direct fixing of vinyl, carpet, tiles, timber, leveling compounds, screeds, etc. over. And then we have Gripset 11Y. So here we have some examples of the slurry primer that's been mixed. So it's 11Y, sand and cement. And it's mainly used for special applications, including submerged, so swimming pools, rooftops where there may be some contaminants. And it gives a consistent surface layer to then be able to apply the finishes over. So primarily in this section, we're talking about it as a prime and sealing slurry, but you can also add it, and we recommend it being in addition to the screed mix for the creation of waterproof renders, screeds and toppings, repair mortars, fillets and coves, concrete masonry renders and screeds. It can be used over cement sheeting, plasterboard, and general wet area linings, and also some asphalt and bitumen surfaces. So once the areas are primed and that's cured, then it's determining what surface finishes or what membrane is going to be applied over the top, or is there a requirement to have a ceramic tile underlay installed prior to the waterproofing works. So Gripset has its revolutionary lightweight peel and stick ceramic tile underlay for use over timber sheeting, including plywood and particle board, concrete, timber floorboards, screed, cement-based compounds, self-levelers, glazed tiles and porous tiles, compressed fiber cement floor sheeting, existing vinyl, terrazzo, polished concrete, sealed surfaces, and general porous and non-porous floors that are structurally sound for tiling. So you can see in this photo that's being used as ceramic tile underlay in a general living area over a timber substrate. And it has massive advantages over traditional ceramic tile underlay, which is typically your cement sheet. It's a peel and stick. The application is infinitely faster than having to nail down the cement boards, and also you have no silica dust, and also it's a lot lighter. So GripSet detailing system. So our detailing systems are waterproof and vapor barriers. They're more than a bond breaker system, as they provide rupture resistance at the most critical areas. Has been the underlying success of GripSet systems since 2004. Elastoproof system, joint band, collars, corners, sets the GripSet range apart at the most critical areas. BRWPF tapes, squares offer versatility and performance, and they're used for all our membrane classes as per AS485A. So whether the product that you're using from GripSet range is a class 1, class 2, or class 3 membrane, our detailing systems, Elastoproof B50 joint band, or the BRWPF tape are compatible with all our membranes and all our systems. So traditionally for bond breakers, we see a lot of sealant bond breakers. There are some risks that are associated with just relying on a sealant bond breaker. These include compatibility of sealant to membrane. So we're still seeing a lot of solvent-based sealants used as a bond breaker detail, and then a water-based product applied over the top. This is not a compatible product. So you get breaking down of the membrane, you're risking the performance, and that bond breaker section is at the most critical junction, which is your wall and floor junction. And that's usually where we see a lot of water ingress and failures. So our advice is to stay clear of solvent-based PU sealants. There's also drying times between the sealant application and ability to cover over. So even those systems where you're using, for example, neutral pure silicon, there is a period where you need to wait for that product to at least to skin over. This can take 1 to 2 hours. The GripSet systems overcome this, and it's ready. Once you've applied the junction tape, then you could apply your membrane directly over the top. So the wall floor gap, height and depth to sealant performance ability. So most sealants on the market, if not all, do have a 2:1 ratio, height versus depth of the sealant for it to be able to perform as described in their technical data sheets. So if we're not meeting that ratio, what it means is that really it's anyone's guess how that sealant will perform once it gets exposed to cyclic movement in the building and continuous contact with water. So you're really just going on blind faith, hoping that the sealant will do the job. So our next slide is a video where we sort of put the sealant side by side with our B50 Elastoproof detailing tape, and sort of highlight some of the advantages further. So as you can see, even if you were to take away the 1 hour or the minimum skinning time for the sealant, it's still a 5-7 minute process time with the elastoproof system or elastic joint band B50 versus the traditional method, where even if we take away that 1 hour, it's still a 15-minute process. So you can imagine over numerous showers, numerous jobs, it just keeps your time saving just continues to build. So if you're waterproofing 10 jobs, 5 jobs a month, it does allow for that additional time saving where you can start with the tiling sooner, and you're also getting the improved performance with the elastoproof system. So elastic recovery, rupture resistance, and just general ease of application with the elastoproof system versus a traditional method. So elastoproof joint band, bond breaker system. So this product, as you just saw, needs to be applied with a wet coat of membrane. It gets pushed into the surface, grip set writing facing up, and then a thin layer of membrane applied over the top. So the product itself is already waterproof and vapor-proof. So it's really about sealing those edges in and then coating over the detailing product. The main difference with the elastoproof joint band versus our butyl tape, our BRWPF, which we'll have a look at shortly, is it does have exceptional elastic recovery. So it's like an elastic band. It just keeps stretching and then coming back to its original shape and form, which is ideal for areas where you may be experiencing additional structural movement, and it can bridge gaps of up to 20 mil. The other thing to point out is these products are solely designed for use as part of the waterproofing system, primarily the bond breaker detail, and it doesn't really have any other purpose. So it's specifically designed to perform for this application, and 1 linear meter will always yield 1 linear meter, as opposed to sealants, depending on the depth and height of that joint. It's anyone's guess, which gives you more consistent consumption of required products. We have prefabricated corners, and these can be used for both the elastoproof system and also with our butyl tapes. So all our products are compatible with each other, including the detailing, primers, and membranes. Elastoproof collars. So again, it's that time-saving element as well as the additional performance. So creating a tight elastic seal over pipes and tap penetrations. And it's simply just applying a wet bed of membrane, pushing it into position, and then applying a coat over the top. So no need to sort of use sealants around those pipes, cut pieces of reinforcing fabric. This is really just designed specifically for this application, and its ease of use and performance is what it's really all about. Same with Gripset's BRW range. So as part of that range, we have the BRW PF Square, and solely designed for puddle flanges. So it eliminates the need to apply a non-porous primer to the PVC. It's primerless application over non-porous substrates, and there's no need to apply a sealant around the rim of the puddle flange either. And then it's just one coat of liquid membrane over the top. So much more secure, faster application for your critical areas. Gripset BRW PF tape. So this is our peel and stick butyl rubber. It can be used for sheet joints and also that wall and floor junction as a bond breaker system. So it really is preference based for the contractor, which product he chooses to use for that junction detailing, but both products are fully approved as a Gripset system. And like I mentioned before, that's with class 1, 2, or 3 membranes in our range, which then brings us to Gripset 38FC. So as we covered before, it's the next generation of fast curing fiber reinforced SBR latex membrane. So it's really been a successful product for Gripset due to the satisfaction of the contractors as far as ease of application and performance. The fast cure will always be dependent on weather. So you can get a dry film in 3 hours, and that's based on an ambient temperature of 23 degrees and 50% relative humidity. And obviously, the lower the temperatures gets, the more time you need to allow for that curing process to take place. Some application examples. So some details to remember. Shower floor is to be completely waterproof, and walls are to be waterproof to 2-meter height from finished floor level, or 150 millimeters above the shower head. All internal and external corners and the horizontal joints are to be waterproofed in detail within the shower area. Unenclosed shower areas are to be waterproofed to a minimum of 1,500 millimeters from the shower water outlet. Tap penetrations are to be sealed. Tap washers must be accessible without damaging the seal around tap penetrations. If there are temporary tap washers installed, we need to ensure that they can be removed and the taps installed without damaging the seal around the tap penetration. Floors and horizontal surfaces adjoining an insert bath are to be waterproofed. Where the floor is waterproof, the tanking of the walls is to be a minimum of 150 millimeters above the finished floor level. Bond breakers must be installed at all wall to floor and hob to wall junctions and at movement joints. Hobs must be constructed of masonry, concrete, or similar material. Hobs should not be constructed of timber, and hobs must be adequately secured to the floor. Water stop angle to shower area must be finished flush with the top of the finished floor level. This angle forms part of the waterproofing system and must be installed prior to the installation of the waterproofing system. Floor must have a minimum fall of 1 in 100 and always with a puddle or leak control flange installed to waste. So there we have the diagram of the water stop where it needs to be installed for an enclosed shower, leak control flange at the water outlet, your perimeter vertical termination to a minimum of 150 with either the elastoproof joint band installed or the BRW PF tape, and shower wall to terminate at a minimum height of 2 meters or 150 millimeters above the shower outlet. Penetrations to be treated with the elastoproof collars. Terminations of water stops. So if we're doing an upstairs bathroom, full floor to be waterproofed, then you need to have a water stop angle at that doorway. If you have an enclosed shower or fully framed shower, the water stop is to finish 5 mil above the finished floor level, and then the shower screen trap to be installed over the top. If it isn't a fully enclosed, then that water stop angle is to finish flush with the tile finish. Water stops must also be installed underneath the bath returns, as the top right diagram shows. Puddle flanges. So the floor must have a minimum of 1 in 100 fall, or 10 millimeters per 1 meter, and the puddle flange is to be installed flush to allow a smooth transition from the main floor substrate into the drainage point. So here we have a full application video using the GripSet 38FC and our detailing products. So once we determine the suitability of those substrates, we need to thoroughly clean and inspect. Ensure that all products are being applied correctly so we can commence with the priming process. It's good practice to tape where your waterproofing is going to terminate. This will give you a visual guide and allow you to plan for the installation of the membrane at the right termination heights. Elastoproof collars. So put them in position. Always stir 38FC prior to use. Look at a membrane to install the product. Pushed into position, ensuring a tight seal around those penetrations, and then just one coat over the top. We have the BRW PF tape being used for joints. And it does allow for a very fast application seal. preformed corners. And then the installation of the tape itself. So it's not a requirement to have a super heavy coat of the liquid membrane. You just want a nice even coat of about half a mil or 500 microns. And it's really just to allow that fabric to wet in and ensure that it gets full adhesion and full contact with the tape itself. And then same with the coat over the top. It's just a thin coat, one coat over the top of the detailing tape. And what this does is it allows for those junctions, which usually take the longest to cure it around the same rate as the surrounding membrane over the general substrates. So again, this bond breaking or junction detail can be carried out with either or the BRWPF tape or the Elastoproof, as been demonstrated right now. So here we can see that gap between the wall sheet and the floor is a bit over that maximum. But as mentioned prior, the BRW system or the Elastoproof can bridge gaps of up to 20 mil. And I hope that some of you guys have already picked up that the nail holes or the screw holes haven't been sealed. And also some of those products that we've lined with haven't been used as per the manufacturer's requirements. But lucky for us, it's simply just a training simulation. It's not going to present any issues. So we do have the larger Elastoproof collars. And you can quite clearly see there that tight seal around the pipe. So now we're applying the first coat. We were installing the water stop using BRW sealing tape. And what this does is it allows for an immediate bond of the water stop. So it's a solid bond, permanent. Of course, sealant can also be used to install those water stop angles. And the BRWPF tape is perfect for this application because there's no additional primers needed for a non-porous or PVC surfaces, metal surfaces, and glazed. Here we are installing the PF square. And again, no sealant around that rim of the puddle flange, as the BRW use a sealing product, and no priming. So on the outside edge here, applying the OP primer. And then from there, we can apply the liquid membrane directly onto that once it's cured. Gripset SB sealant is being used. Gripset sealant is not solvent-based and it doesn't require any skinning time. So once you've tooled off that joint, you can then immediately apply liquid membrane to it. And then the overcoating will have detailing products. And then first coat to the floor. And here you can see the 38FC consistency. It's a nice thick consistency, making it very easy to achieve the required film thicknesses. Film thickness can be checked using a wet film gauge. And the minimum we want to try and achieve is 750 microns per coat. And here we have the alternate method of installing that water stop using the SB sealant. And again, the versatility of that BRW beauty product just gives you that added performance and that time saving. It allows for even coverage of your membrane. It ensures that at the most critical areas, you know that you're protected with a product that's already waterproof. now we see the second coat being applied in the opposite direction. So it's not shown in this presentation, but walls also require 2 coats of membrane, and it's the same method. So first coat, whichever direction you decide to apply it. Then the second coat in the opposite direction. You can also clearly see there the difference in the color from its wet state to its dry state. And then that's done. Thanks for your time, guys. For any further information, or if you want to follow the latest industry news, or what GroupSet is doing with its products that are coming onto the market, we also offer general industry advice through our YouTube channel, GroupSet Seal for Good. We're also always posting new information and promotions on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on Twitter.
Okay, so that's it. Thanks again, guys, for joining us for this training session. From here, we need to get onto the GroupSet portal, conduct a short test, get your hands on some product, use the GroupSet system. If you have any questions, if you need any further assistance, we're always here to help. And happy waterproofing. Good luck, guys. Thanks.